When Rachel drops money into a beggar's cup on a busy New York street, she thinks it's just another morning. But when the homeless man appears outside her office window, then at a luxury building on Park Avenue, she realizes nothing is what it seems. The beggar is Victor Hale, a billionaire testing strangers to find someone worthy of trust. What starts as a strange encounter becomes a high-stakes game where every action is evaluated, every choice matters, and the woman who stopped when others walked by might just pass the ultimate test. But in a world where everyone is being watched, who's really testing whom? Welcome back, everyone. Before we dive into today's story, I want to thank you for being here. Your time is valuable, and I'm grateful you chose to spend it with us. If you enjoy these stories of unexpected tests, hidden identities, and life-changing choices, please take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It truly helps us keep bringing you these narratives. And drop a comment letting us know where you're watching from. I love seeing our global community come together. Now, let's continue with Rachel's journey. The first thing Rachel noticed was the smell. Not her usual morning: coffee from the corner vendor, exhaust from black cars idling at the curb. This was something else. Sour fabric. Old sweat trapped in wool. She'd just stepped out of the subway at 5th and 42nd, briefcase in one hand, when the man blocked her path at the top of the stairs. Torn coat. Fingerless gloves. A paper cup extended toward her chest. "Please, miss. Anything helps?" She sidestepped. He matched her movement. "I said please." Rachel stopped. The crowd flowed around them like water past a rock. She looked at his face, weathered, unshaven, eyes that held hers a beat too long for someone begging. Something in his posture didn't match the clothes, shoulders too straight, hands too clean beneath the grime. "I don't have cash," she said. "You have a $50 scarf." Her hand went to her neck. Cashmere. Last month's bonus, the one she'd told herself she'd earned. She pulled her fingers back. "I'm late." "Everyone's late." He didn't move. "But you stopped." She had. That was the problem. 3 other people had walked past him without breaking stride, but she'd looked, made eye contact. Now his cup stayed level with her sternum, and the space between them felt like a test she hadn't studied for. Rachel shifted her briefcase to her other hand. The leather handle left an indent in her palm. "What do you want?" "I already told you. Anything helps. I gave to a shelter last week. I volunteer." "Not what I asked." The words came out flat. Not aggressive, just stripped of the pleading tone he'd used seconds ago. Rachel's jaw tightened. Behind him, the morning rush continued. Suits, sneakers, strollers. No one slowed. No one turned. She pulled out her wallet. Found a 20. Dropped it in the cup without touching his hand. "God bless," he said, but his eyes didn't change. Rachel walked. Fast. The kind of fast that said, done, finished, moving on. She didn't look back. Didn't slow until she'd crossed 6th Avenue and the Starbucks on the corner came into view. She pushed through the door, let the blast of warm air and vanilla syrup reset her pulse. Ordered her usual. Waited by the pickup counter, checked her phone. When she looked up, he was standing outside the window, same coat, same cup. But he wasn't begging, just watching. Their eyes met through the glass, and he tilted his head, barely, almost imperceptibly, then turned and walked away. Rachel's coffee arrived. She didn't taste the first sip. The office didn't care about vagrant encounters. The office cared about the Steinberg pitch, the one she'd been prepping for 3 weeks. Rachel dropped her briefcase beside her desk, logged in, pulled up the presentation. 63 slides. Market analysis, risk assessment, projected ROI. Everything Lawrence Steinberg's investment team would need to see, except Steinberg wouldn't be seeing it. "Rachel." Her manager appeared in the doorway. Dark suit, no tie, the kind of casual that cost more than formal. Conference room. 2 minutes. She grabbed her laptop, followed him down the hall to the glass-walled space where the senior partners usually dissected quarterly reports. Today, there were only 3 people inside. Her manager, the VP of Client Relations, and a woman she'd never seen before. Tailored navy dress, silver hair pulled back, the kind of posture that made sitting look like a power position. Ms. Chen will be presenting the Steinberg pitch, her manager said. Rachel's hand froze on her laptop. I've been working on this for 3 weeks, I know. He didn't sit. Steinberg requested someone with more field experience. I have field experience. The Morrison account, the different field, the VP cut in, smooth, practiced. Luxury real estate, high net worth estate planning, Ms. Chen has connections Steinberg's team will respond to. The woman in the navy dress didn't smile, didn't apologize, just opened her own laptop and angled the screen away from Rachel's line of sight. You'll assist, her manager added. Background research, data verification. Rachel's throat felt tight. I built the entire framework. And it's excellent work. That's why we're using it. He checked his watch. Ms. Chen needs the raw data files by noon. Everything else we'll handle. They waited. All 3 of them. The silence stretched until Rachel realized it wasn't a conversation anymore. She left her laptop closed, walked back to her desk, sat down, stared at her screen for 5 minutes without seeing it. Then she opened her drawer, found the photo she kept under her planner, her and her mother 8 years ago. Outside the community center where they used to volunteer on Sundays, serving meals, sorting donations, her mother's hand on her shoulder, both of them smiling at something outside the frame. Do the work, her mother used to say. The work speaks for itself. Rachel closed the drawer, sent the files at 11:47, got no reply. Lunch was a protein bar at her desk. Dinner was leftover Thai food, microwaved in the break room at 8 p.m. when everyone else had gone home. Rachel stayed until the cleaning crew arrived, then took the subway back to her apartment in Astoria. 4th floor walk-up, rent stabilized, the kind of place her co-workers assumed she'd outgrown. She hadn't. The next morning, she left earlier. Different subway exit, different route. But when she turned the corner onto 6th Avenue, the man was there. Same coat, same cup. Different corner. This time he wasn't alone. A woman knelt beside him, older, heavy-set, using a cane to ease herself down onto the sidewalk. She had a cardboard sign propped against a duffel bag. Veteran. Homeless. Hungry. God bless. The man in the torn coat crouched next to her, adjusting the sign so it faced the street. Their heads bent close. He said something Rachel couldn't hear. The woman nodded, took the cup from his hand. Then he stood, brushed off his knees, and walked away. Rachel stopped walking. The woman stayed, holding the cup now, repeating the same words the man had used yesterday. Please, anything helps. People passed, dropped coins, kept moving. The man crossed the street, no limp, no shuffle. He walked like someone who knew exactly where he was going, and when he reached the opposite corner, he stopped, leaned against a lamp post, and watched. Rachel's pulse kicked. She turned before he could see her staring, kept her head down, walked the 4 blocks to her office without stopping, but she thought about it. All morning. Through the budget review meeting. Through the email chain where Ms. Chen asked for 3 additional revisions on data Rachel had triple-checked. Through the lunch she skipped because her stomach wouldn't settle. At 2 p.m. she told her manager she had a dentist appointment. Left the building. Walked back to 6th Avenue. The woman was gone. The sign was gone. The cup was gone. But the man was still there. He stood in front of a food cart, hands in his pockets, watching the vendor wrap a gyro. When the vendor handed it over, the man paid with a credit card. Rachel stepped behind a parked delivery truck. Watched him take the sandwich to a bench, unwrap it, eat half, then fold the paper back over the rest and leave it on the bench. He walked east. Rachel followed. He didn't check over his shoulder, didn't slow, just moved through the midday crowd with the same steady gait she'd noticed before, shoulders level, stride even, not the gait of someone who slept on pavement. At Park Avenue, he stopped outside a high-rise, glass and steel, doorman in a charcoal coat, the kind of building Rachel had walked past 100 times without ever considering the rent. The doorman opened the door before the man reached it. "Afternoon, sir." The man nodded, stepped inside. Rachel stood on the sidewalk, stared at the doors as they swung shut, pulled out her phone, opened the camera, zoomed in on the building's address plaque, 875 Park Avenue. She typed it into the browser, scrolled through search results, luxury condos, penthouses starting at $12 million. Doorman, concierge, private elevators. Her hands shook. She walked back to the office, sat at her desk, stared at her screen until the words blurred. Then she opened a new search window, typed, "Homeless test billionaire." The results loaded. Articles, forum posts, urban legends about CEOs who disguise themselves to evaluate employees, test loyalty, measure character. Some claimed it was corporate folklore. Others swore they'd witnessed it. Rachel scrolled until she found a photo. It was old, 5, maybe 6 years, but clear. A man in a tailored suit standing beside a woman in a red gown. Gala backdrop. Champagne flutes. The caption read, "Philanthropist Victor Hale and actress Christine Dorsey at the annual Heritage Foundation dinner." Rachel clicked to enlarge. The man's face filled her screen. Same jawline, same eyes, same posture. She looked at the address bar, looked at the photo, looked at the date she'd dropped a 20 into a paper cup. Then she closed the browser, shut her laptop, and sat in the dark office until her breathing slowed. Victor Hale. The name pulled up 600,000 results. Real estate, venture capital, philanthropy, 3 ex-wives, 2 daughters, a reputation for ruthlessness in business and generosity in public, and one quote repeated across a dozen profiles. "I don't invest in companies. I invest in people, and people lie with their resumes, not their reflexes." Rachel read until midnight. Then she read more. Articles about his unorthodox hiring practices, rumors that he'd posed as a janitor to evaluate executive candidates, a lawsuit settled out of court from a woman who claimed he'd manipulated her into a relationship under false pretenses. The lawsuit had been dismissed. The woman had disappeared from public record. Rachel set her phone down, picked it up again, opened her messages, scrolled to her mother's contact, stared at the last text she'd sent. "Love you. Talk soon, 3 weeks ago." She typed. "If someone tests you and you don't know it's a test, does it count?" Deleted it. Typed. "What if the work doesn't speak for itself?" Deleted that too. Put the phone face down on the nightstand, stared at the ceiling until the sky turned gray. She didn't see him. Thursday. Didn't see him Friday. Saturday, she went back to 6th Avenue. The woman with the cane was there. Same corner. Same sign. But when Rachel approached, the woman looked up, sharp, fast, and her expression wasn't grateful. It was irritated. "You looking for him?" Rachel froze. "Who?" "Don't play." The woman shifted her weight. "You've been circling this block 3 times. You're not a cop. You're not social services. So what are you?" Rachel's mouth dried. "I gave him money earlier this week." "Good for you." The woman's tone flattened. "He doesn't need it." "I know." The woman blinked, then laughed, short, sharp. Yeah, guess you do. She tilted her head. So why are you here? Rachel crouched, met her eyes. How much does he pay you? The woman's face went still. What? To sit here, to hold the cup. How much? For 5 seconds the woman didn't move. Then she smiled. Not warm, not cold. Just knowing. 200 a day, cash, and a meal voucher. She tapped the sign. Better than what I was making before. Does he tell you what to say? Nope. Just to be here. 8 to 6. He watches sometimes. Makes sure I'm not getting harassed. She paused. Pays my rent too. First of the month. On time. Rachel's chest tightened. Why? Why do you think? The woman leaned back. Man's got more money than God and nothing but time. Wants to see who stops, who looks, who pretends we're invisible. She tapped her cane against the pavement. You stopped. So did other people. Sure, and he's probably tracking them too. The woman's gaze sharpened. But you came back. Rachel stood. Her knees felt unsteady. What does he do with the information? No idea. I just work here. The woman picked up her cup, shook it. Coins rattled. You want to know more? You'll have to ask him yourself. Where is he? The woman pointed east. Probably where he always is on Saturdays. Soup kitchen on 39th. He volunteers. Rachel stared. He what? Volunteers. The woman grinned. Funny, right? Man's testing everyone else, but he still shows up to serve oatmeal. The soup kitchen occupied the basement of a church Rachel had passed 1,000 times without noticing. Stone steps led down to a heavy wooden door. A handwritten sign read, Open 7 a.m., 2 p.m., all welcome. Rachel descended. Inside, the air smelled like industrial bleach and burnt coffee. Folding tables lined the walls, plastic chairs, a serving line at the back where 3 people in aprons doled out food from metal trays. Victor Hale stood at the center station, serving eggs. He wore a plain gray sweatshirt, jeans, sneakers that looked like they'd actually been worn. His hair was different, combed back instead of hanging over his forehead, but the posture was unmistakable. Rachel joined the line, picked up a tray, moved forward, watched him scoop eggs onto plates without looking up. His movements were efficient, practiced, not the fumbling charity of someone performing goodwill for cameras. When she reached his station, he glanced up. Their eyes met. He didn't react, just scooped eggs onto her plate. Toast? Rachel's voice came out steady. No, thank you. He nodded, moved to the next person. She took her tray to an empty table, sat, pushed the eggs around with a plastic fork. He served for another 20 minutes, then stepped away, stripped off his apron, and walked to the coffee station. Poured 2 cups, carried one to Rachel's table. Set it down across from her, sat. You're not homeless, he said. Neither are you. He smiled, not wide, just enough to show he'd expected the answer. Fair. Rachel set down her fork. Why are you doing this? Eating breakfast? Testing people. Who says I'm testing anyone? The woman on 6th Avenue, the one you pay to sit there. Victor took a sip of coffee. Didn't flinch. Margaret's good at her job. Which is what? Being your human litmus test? No. Being visible. He leaned back. Most people walk past her like she's furniture. You didn't. I walked past you. After you stopped. After you gave me money. His gaze didn't waver. Then you came back. Rachel's hands tightened around her cup. You were watching. I'm always watching. He said it without arrogance. Just fact. That's the point. Of what? Figuring out who people are when they think no one's keeping score. Rachel's pulse hammered. And what did you figure out about me? Victor tilted his head, studied her, Not the way men usually looked at her, assessing attractiveness, calculating interest. This was different, clinical, like she was a balance sheet. "You stopped because you felt obligated," he said, "not because you cared. You gave me money because it was easier than walking away, and you came back because you hate not understanding things." Rachel's jaw clenched. "You don't know me. I know you work at Steinberg and Cross, junior analyst. You've been there 4 years. You were supposed to present the pitch this week, but they gave it to someone else." He paused. "You didn't fight." Her breath caught. "How?" "I called your office. Asked about the Steinberg account. They put me through to Ms. Chen." He smiled. "She's very confident." Rachel's hand shook. "You had no right?" "I had every right. I'm Victor Hale. I'm considering an investment." He set down his cup. "And I wanted to know who built the framework." The basement went quiet. Somewhere behind them, a volunteer scraped trays into a trash bin. The fluorescent lights buzzed. Rachel forced herself to breathe. Why? Because the work was good. Better than good. And the person presenting it didn't build it. He leaned forward. "I don't invest in people who take credit for other people's work." "So you're testing me." "I'm observing you." His tone didn't change. "There's a difference." "No, there isn't." Rachel stood. The chair scraped loud against the floor. "You put on a costume. You manipulated a situation. You made me think I was helping someone, and the whole time you were... What? Taking notes?" Victor didn't stand. "You did help someone. Margaret got $200 and a meal because you stopped." "That's not the point." "Then what is?" Rachel's voice rose. "The point is, you don't get to decide who's worthy by tricking them into showing you their worst moment." "I'm not looking for your worst moment." Victor's gaze held steady. "I'm looking for your real one." "This is real." Rachel's hands clenched. "Me standing here telling you this is manipulative and wrong. That's real." "Good." He stood now, slowly. "Then you passed." Rachel froze. Victor picked up both coffee cups, walked to the trash, dumped them, returned. "I'm hosting a dinner next Saturday," he said. 8 p.m. My penthouse. Small group. Potential investors, a few analysts I'm considering for a new venture. He pulled a card from his pocket, held it out. "I'd like you to come." Rachel stared at the card. Heavy stock. Embossed lettering. An address she already knew. "Why?" she asked. "Because you're angry. And you're honest. And you didn't pretend to care when you didn't." He set the card on the table between them. "Most people would have?" Rachel didn't touch it. "What if I say no?" "Then you say no." He turned toward the door. Stopped. Looked back. "But you won't." He left. Rachel stood alone in the basement. Stared at the card. Picked it up. Slid it into her pocket. She didn't tell anyone. Not her mother. Not her co-workers. Not the friend who'd been texting her all week about drinks she kept canceling. She researched. Victor Hale had been married 3 times. The first marriage lasted 2 years, ended in a quiet divorce. The second lasted 6 months, ended in a tabloid scandal involving a ski instructor in Aspen. The third lasted 4 years, produced 2 daughters, and ended when his wife filed a restraining order. The order had been dropped. The settlement sealed. Rachel found one interview with the third wife, given to a lifestyle magazine 2 years after the divorce. Most of it was careful, diplomatic, but one line stood out. "Victor doesn't lie. He just doesn't tell you the whole truth until you've already committed." Rachel read it 3 times. Then she opened her closet. She owned 2 dresses nice enough for a penthouse dinner. One black, one navy. Both bought for work events she'd attended and immediately forgotten. She chose the black one. Spent the next week preparing. Not for the dinner, for the test, because this was a test. She knew that now. Victor Hale didn't invite junior analysts to intimate dinners because he admired their honesty. He invited them because he wanted to see what they'd do with access. Rachel ran scenarios, practiced answers, memorized details about his companies, his investments, his known associates. She didn't practice small talk. Saturday arrived cold. Rachel left her apartment at 6 p.m., took the subway to 68th Street, walked the remaining blocks. 875 Park Avenue looked different at night, lit from within. The doorman wore white gloves. He opened the door before she reached it. Name? Rachel Ortiz. He checked a tablet, nodded. Penthouse. Private elevator. The lobby gleamed. Marble floors, crystal chandelier. A security guard stationed beside the elevator bank. He pressed a button Rachel couldn't see. The doors opened. She stepped inside. The elevator had no buttons, just a panel that read, Penthouse. The doors closed. Rachel's reflection stared back from polished brass. Black dress, hair pulled back. Lipstick she'd applied twice because her hands wouldn't stop shaking. The elevator rose, opened into a foyer. Victor Hale stood waiting. He wore a suit now. Charcoal. Perfectly tailored. His hair combed back the way it had been at the soup kitchen, but everything else about him looked different. Sharper. More expensive. Rachel, thank you for coming. She stepped out. The doors closed behind her. You're early, he said. You told me 8. I told everyone 8. It's 7:45. He smiled. I wanted to talk to you first. Rachel's pulse kicked. About what? About why you're here. You invited me. And you accepted. Shy. Why? She met his gaze. Didn't look away. Because I want to know what you're really testing. Victor's smile widened. Good answer. He gestured toward the living room. Come in. The others will arrive soon. The penthouse was exactly what Rachel had expected, and nothing like it. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park. Modern furniture. Art on the walls that probably cost more than her annual salary, but the space felt lived in. Books stacked on the coffee table. A laptop open on the desk, a jacket draped over the back of a chair. Drink? Victor asked. Water. He poured it himself from a glass pitcher, handed it to her. Their fingers didn't touch. The other guests, he said. Do you want to know who they are? Does it matter? It might. Rachel sipped her water. Then tell me. 3 investors. 2 analysts. 1 journalist. He watched her face. And 1 person who thinks they're here for a job interview. Rachel's grip tightened on the glass. Which one am I? Which one do you think you are? I think I'm the person you're using to prove a point. Victor laughed. Actually laughed. You're smarter than I thought. Is that a compliment? It's an observation. The elevator chimed. Victor set down his drink. They're here. Try to enjoy yourself. I'm not here to enjoy myself. I know. He walked toward the foyer. That's why I invited you. The guests arrived in pairs. First, 2 men in near-identical suits. Investors, Rachel guessed. They shook Victor's hand, accepted drinks, positioned themselves near the windows. Then a woman in red. Older, confident. The journalist, maybe. She kissed Victor on both cheeks, said something that made him laugh. Then the analysts. A man and a woman. Both younger than Rachel. Both carrying the same forced calm she recognized from her own reflection. And finally, a woman in white. She was beautiful. Not magazine beautiful. Something sharper. Elegant. She moved through the space like she'd been there before, and when Victor greeted her, his posture changed, softened. Everyone, he said, raising his voice just enough. Thank you for coming. Dinner will be ready in 20 minutes. Please, make yourselves comfortable." The group dispersed. Conversations formed. Rachel stayed near the windows, watching. The woman in white approached. "You're new," she said, not a question. Rachel turned. "So are you." "No, I've been here before." The woman extended her hand. "Vanessa Carrington." Rachel shook it, recognized the name immediately. Vanessa Carrington, CEO of Carrington Media, Forbes, 30 under 30, 3 years running. Rachel Ortiz. "And what do you do, Rachel?" "I analyze investment opportunities." "For whom?" "Steinberg and Cross." Vanessa's expression didn't change, but something shifted behind her eyes. "Ah, you're the one who built the framework." Rachel's breath caught. "How did you—" "Victor told me." Vanessa sipped her champagne. "He's very impressed." "He has a strange way of showing it?" "He has a strategic way of showing it." Vanessa leaned in slightly, lowered her voice. "Can I give you some advice?" Rachel nodded. "Don't try to figure out what he wants. Just be exactly who you are." Vanessa smiled. "He'll respect you more for it." Before Rachel could respond, Victor called everyone to the table. Dinner was formal, place cards, multiple courses. Rachel sat between one of the investors and the male analyst. Across from her, Vanessa. At the head of the table, Victor. He didn't dominate the conversation, didn't perform, just listened, asked questions, let the guests talk. But Rachel noticed something. Every time someone spoke, his gaze shifted. Not to the speaker, to the person next to them, watching their reaction, their body language. He was still testing. The first course arrived, some kind of soup Rachel couldn't identify. She ate slowly, listened to the investor beside her talk about market volatility, watched Vanessa deflect the journalist's questions with practiced ease, watched Victor watch them all. The second course, fish, perfectly cooked. The conversation shifted to real estate. The female analyst spoke up, confident, knowledgeable. Victor nodded along. Then he turned to Rachel. "You've been quiet." Every head swiveled toward her. Rachel set down her fork. "I've been listening." "And what have you heard?" "A lot of opinions. Not much data." The table went silent. Victor smiled. "Elaborate." Rachel's pulse hammered, but her voice stayed steady. "Everyone here has a theory about where the market's going. No one cited a source." The investor beside her stiffened. "I've been tracking." "Tracking isn't the same as proving." Rachel met Victor's gaze. "You taught me that." The journalist leaned forward. "When did he teach you that?" "Last Saturday. At the soup kitchen." The table erupted. Not loudly, just a ripple of reactions. Glances exchanged. Eyebrows raised. Vanessa's smile widened. Victor's didn't change. "Tell them what else I taught you," he said. Rachel's throat tightened. She could deflect, change the subject, play it safe. Instead, she said, that people lie with their resumes, not their reflexes. The investor beside her laughed, uncomfortable. "What does that mean?" "It means you can't fake character when you don't know you're being evaluated." Victor raised his glass. "Exactly." The journalist's pen moved across her notebook. Rachel's hands shook under the table. The third course arrived. Conversation resumed, but the energy had shifted. People spoke more carefully now, measured their words. The ease from earlier dissolved into calculation. Rachel barely tasted her food. When dessert was cleared, Victor stood. "Thank you all for coming. I know your time is valuable." He gestured toward the living room. "Coffee and cognac in 10 minutes. Please take a moment." The guests dispersed. Rachel stood, started toward the windows, but Victor caught her elbow. "Walk with me." He led her down a hallway, past closed doors, into a library, shelves floor to ceiling, a desk by the window, leather chairs. Victor closed the door behind them. "You did well," he said. Rachel turned. This was another test. Everything is a test. That's exhausting. That's life. He crossed to the desk, opened a drawer, pulled out a folder. "I'm launching a new fund. High risk, high reward, emerging markets, disruptive tech. I need someone who can evaluate opportunities without bias." He held out the folder. Rachel didn't take it. "What's the catch?" she asked. "No catch." "Just an offer." "There's always a catch with you." Victor's expression shifted, not anger, something closer to approval. "The catch is that you'll be working directly with me, which means I'll be testing you constantly, and if you fail, you're out. And if I succeed, then you'll be the youngest partner in the fund's history." Rachel's breath stopped. Victor set the folder on the desk between them. "You have until Monday to decide." "Why me?" "Because you stopped when you didn't have to. Because you came back when you had no reason to. Because you're sitting here calling me exhausting instead of thanking me for the opportunity." He smiled. "Most people would be thanking me." "I'm not most people." "I know." He moved toward the door. Paused. "One more thing." Rachel looked up. "This dinner? The soup kitchen? The woman on 6th Avenue? His gaze held hers. "None of it was about testing who deserves to be my wife." Rachel blinked. "That's what the journalist thinks. What Vanessa thinks. What everyone at that table thinks." He opened the door. "But I'm not looking for a wife. I'm looking for a partner. Someone I can trust to see through the performance and tell me the truth." He left. Rachel stood alone in the library, stared at the folder, picked it up. Inside, a contract, terms, salary figures that made her head spin, and a handwritten note. "You passed, but the real test starts now." Rachel didn't go back to the living room. She took the private elevator down, walked out into the cold night, stood on the sidewalk and looked up at the lit windows 60 floors above. Then she walked, past the doorman, past the security guard, past the late-night dog walkers and the couples stumbling home from dinner. She walked until she reached the subway, descended into the station, waited on the platform. The folder felt heavy in her hands. When the train arrived, she sat in the back corner, opened the contract, read every line. No red flags, no hidden clauses, just a straightforward offer for a position she'd spent 4 years working toward. But it wasn't the contract that kept her awake that night. It was the note. The real test starts now. Monday morning, Rachel walked into Steinberg & Cross at 7:30 a.m. Her manager wasn't in yet. Ms. Chen's office was dark. Rachel sat at her desk, opened her laptop, typed out her resignation letter. 2 weeks' notice. Professional. Grateful. She printed it, signed it, left it in her manager's inbox. Then she packed her personal items into a cardboard box. The photo of her and her mother, her coffee mug, the succulent that had somehow survived 4 years of neglect. At 8:15, her manager arrived. At 8:20, he appeared at her desk. "You're serious?" Rachel looked up. "Yes. We can counter. Better title. More responsibility. I've already accepted another position." His jaw tightened. "Where?" "Hale Ventures." His face changed. Calculation. Resentment. Something else she couldn't name. "You know his reputation." "I do." "And you're taking the job anyway." "Yes." He stood there for another 10 seconds, then nodded. "Good luck." He left. Rachel finished packing. At 9 a.m., she walked out of Steinberg & Cross for the last time. At 10 a.m., she called the number on Victor's card. He answered on the first ring. "I'm in," she said. "I know." He sounded unsurprised. "Come by the office tomorrow. We'll finalize paperwork." "Victor?" "Yes." "This test. When does it end?" A pause, then, "It doesn't. But you already knew that." He hung up. Rachel stood on the sidewalk, boxed belongings in her arms, subway entrance 20 feet away. She thought about the woman on 6th Avenue, the soup kitchen, the dinner party, the folder, the note. Thought about her mother's voice. "Do the work. The work speaks for itself." Except it didn't. Not really. The work got noticed when someone decided it was worth noticing. Rachel shifted the box, started walking, not toward the subway, toward the coffee shop on the corner, the one where she'd first seen Victor watching through the window. She ordered her usual, sat by the glass, watched the morning rush, and waited to see who stopped. The conference room at Hale Ventures smelled like fresh paint and expensive leather. Rachel stood at the head of the table. 12 investors, 4 analysts, Victor at the far end, arms crossed, expression neutral. She clicked to the next slide. The data shows a 34% ROI over 18 months. Conservative estimate. We're projecting closer to 50% if the regulatory landscape shifts as anticipated. One of the investors leaned forward. "And if it doesn't?" "Then we divest at month 12. Minimal loss." "You're very confident." "I'm very thorough." Rachel met his gaze. "I don't present anything I haven't verified." The investor glanced at Victor. Victor said nothing. "Questions?" Rachel asked. Silence. She closed her laptop, sat down. The meeting continued. Other analysts presented, other opportunities. Rachel listened, took notes. Didn't speak unless asked. When it ended, the investors filed out. The analysts followed. Victor stayed. "You handled Miller well," he said. Miller was the investor who'd challenged her. "He was testing you." "I know. You didn't flinch." "Should I have?" Victor smiled. Stood, walked to the window. "I'm hosting another dinner this weekend." Rachel's stomach tightened. "Another test? Another opportunity." He turned. Different group this time. Fewer investors, more analysts. He paused. "I'd like you to bring someone." Rachel frowned. "Who?" "Someone you trust. Someone who'll be honest." His gaze sharpened. "Someone who'll tell me if I'm wrong. You want me to bring a spy. I want you to bring a mirror." Victor crossed his arms. "Everyone in this company thinks I'm infallible. You don't. I need more people who don't." Rachel stood. Gathered her things. "I'll think about it." "No, you won't. You'll say yes because you understand what I'm building here." He moved toward the door, stopped. "The question isn't whether you'll bring someone. It's whether you'll bring the right person." He left. Rachel stood alone in the conference room, pulled out her phone, scrolled to her mother's contact, typed, "Are you free Saturday night?" The response came immediately. "Always. What's the occasion?" Rachel stared at the screen, typed, "Dinner with my boss. Might be weird." How weird. He pretended to be homeless to test my character, then hired me. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "I'll bring wine." Rachel smiled, put her phone away, looked out the window at the city below. All those people, all those tests. All those moments where someone decided whether to stop or keep walking. She thought about the woman on 6th Avenue, wondered if she was still there, still holding the cup, still watching who stopped. Probably. Victor didn't do anything halfway. Rachel picked up her laptop, started toward the door. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "You passed again." V. She stopped. Looked around the empty conference room. No cameras visible, but she knew he was watching. Somehow. Always. She typed back, "When do I get to test you?" The response was immediate. "You already are." Saturday arrived with freezing rain. Rachel's mother showed up at her apartment at 6 p.m., shaking water from her coat, holding a bottle of red wine wrapped in brown paper. "You look terrified," her mother said. "I'm not terrified." Then why did you change 3 times? Rachel glanced down at the navy dress she'd finally settled on. How do you know I changed? Because there are 2 other dresses on your bed. And you have that look. Her mother set the wine on the counter. The one you get when you're trying to solve a problem that doesn't have a right answer. Rachel's chest tightened. What if this is a mistake? Bringing me? All of it. The job. Working for someone who treats everything like a test. Her mother was quiet for a moment. Then, do you trust him? No. Do you trust yourself? Rachel met her mother's gaze. I don't know. Then tonight will help you figure it out. Her mother picked up the wine. Come on, let's go meet this man who thinks he's clever. The penthouse looked different this time. Smaller group. More intimate. The table set for 8 instead of 12. Victor greeted them at the elevator. Mrs. Ortiz, thank you for coming. Rachel's mother shook his hand, firm, direct. Thank you for inviting me, and it's Ms. My apologies. No need. Just wanted to be clear. Her mother handed him the wine. I didn't know what you were serving, so I brought red. If it's wrong, blame Rachel. Victor smiled, actually smiled. It's perfect. He led them into the living room. 4 other guests were already there. Rachel recognized 2 analysts from the office. The other 2 were strangers. Everyone. This is Rachel Ortiz and her mother, Elena. Carmen, Rachel's mother corrected. Elena's my sister. Carmen. My apologies. Victor didn't miss a beat. Please, make yourselves comfortable. The evening unfolded differently than Rachel expected. No formal seating. No multi-course precision, just food passed family style, conversation that felt almost natural. Almost. Because Rachel noticed the pattern. Every time someone spoke, Victor's attention shifted. Not to them, but to the person beside them. Watching. Measuring. Her mother noticed too. You do that a lot, Carmen said suddenly. Victor looked up. Do what? Watch the person who isn't talking. Carmen took a sip of wine. Why? The table went quiet. Victor set down his fork. Because the person talking is performing. The person listening is revealing. Revealing what? What they really think. Carmen nodded slowly. So this whole dinner is a performance. Every dinner is a performance. Not the ones I host. Carmen leaned back. At my table, people say what they mean. No games. That's a luxury most people can't afford. Or a choice most people won't make. Carmen's gaze didn't waver. You've built an empire on testing people. What happens when someone refuses to play? Victor smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Then they don't work for me. Good thing I don't work for you. The tension stretched. Rachel's pulse hammered. Then Victor laughed. Real. Genuine. I like you, he said. I don't care if you like me. Carmen reached for the bread basket. I care if you're good to my daughter. Mom, Rachel started. No. He invited me here for a reason. Carmen turned to Victor. So let's be direct. Is this another test? Am I supposed to prove something? Victor's expression shifted. Something like respect. Yes. Then I already failed, because I'm not here to prove anything. I'm here because Rachel asked me to come. Carmen buttered her bread. If that's not enough, we can leave. Rachel held her breath. Victor was silent for 5 seconds. Then he said, You're right. I apologize. Carmen blinked. You're apologizing? Yes. Victor looked at Rachel, then back at Carmen. I've spent so long testing people that I forgot some relationships don't need testing. Most relationships don't need testing, Carmen corrected. But you wouldn't know that because you don't trust anyone. I trust Rachel. Do you? Or do you just trust that she'll keep passing your tests? Victor opened his mouth, closed it. For the first time since Rachel had met him, he looked uncertain. Carmen set down her bread. My daughter is brilliant. She's worked harder than anyone I know. And she deserves a boss who sees that without making her prove it every day. She leaned forward. So here's my test for you. Stop testing her. Start trusting her. And if you can't do that, let her go. Work for someone who will. The room was silent. Rachel's hands shook under the table. Victor looked at Carmen, then at Rachel, then at the other guests who were suddenly very interested in their plates. You're right, he said quietly. Carmen tilted her head. Say that again? You're right. Victor stood, walked to the window, stared out at the rain. I've been so focused on finding people I can trust that I've forgotten how to actually trust them. He turned back to the table. Rachel, I'm sorry. You've proven yourself, repeatedly. And I've kept moving the goalpost because that's what I do. That's how I protect myself. He paused. But it's not fair. And it's not necessary. Rachel's throat tightened. Victor, no, let me finish. He moved back to his seat, sat. I'm offering you a partnership, full partnership, equal stake in the new fund, no more tests, no more hoops. The room erupted in murmurs. Rachel stared at him. What? You heard me. Victor slid a folder across the table, the same kind he'd given her 3 months ago. I had my lawyers draw this up last week. I was waiting for the right moment to give it to you. And you chose tonight? Huh, in front of my mother? I chose tonight because I needed to see if you'd bring someone who would challenge me. He smiled at Carmen. You did. Carmen raised her glass. Damn right she did. Rachel opened the folder, scanned the contract. Partnership. Equity. Decision-making authority. No hidden clauses. She looked up. This is real? It's real. No more tests? No more tests. Victor met her gaze. Unless you count the actual work, which is, constant evaluation and high-pressure decisions. Rachel laughed, couldn't help it. That's not the same thing, isn't it? No, that's just life. Exactly. Victor raised his glass. Welcome to the partnership, Rachel. The table erupted in applause. Rachel's mother squeezed her hand under the table. Rachel signed the contract right there, in front of everyone. When dinner ended, when the guests had left, when it was just Rachel, Carmen, and Victor standing in the foyer, Carmen said, One more thing. Victor turned. Yes? If you hurt my daughter, professionally or otherwise, I will destroy you. Victor's eyebrows rose. How? I don't know yet, but I'll figure it out. Carmen smiled. I'm very good at tests, too. Victor laughed. I believe you. They shook hands. In the elevator, Rachel's mother said, He's manipulative, controlling, and probably incapable of normal human relationships. Rachel nodded. I know. But he respects you. I think so. And you respect yourself. Rachel thought about the woman on 6th Avenue, the soup kitchen, the moment she'd chosen to come back instead of walking away. Yeah, she said. I do. Her mother hugged her. Then you'll be fine. The woman on 6th Avenue was gone. Rachel had walked past that corner every morning for 6 months, and 3 weeks ago the spot had been empty. No cardboard sign, no paper cup. She'd asked Victor about it. Margaret got a job, he'd said, managing a community center in Brooklyn. I wrote her a reference. Did you test her first? No. I trusted her. Rachel had smiled at that. Now she stood in the same spot where she'd first seen Victor crouched in a torn coat. The memory felt distant, like something that had happened to someone else. Her phone buzzed, a text from Victor. Board meeting in 20. Where are you? She typed back. On my way. Started walking. Past the coffee shop where she'd first noticed him watching. Past the subway entrance. Past the building where she used to work. Steinberg and Cross had lost the Steinberg account 2 months ago. Ms. Chen had been let go. Rachel's old manager had called, asking if Hale Ventures was hiring. She'd said she'd look into it. She hadn't. Some bridges didn't need rebuilding. Rachel reached the Hale Ventures building. Sleek. Modern. 20 floors of glass and ambition. The security guard nodded as she passed. Morning, Mr. Ortiz. Morning, David. She took the elevator to the 15th floor, walked into the boardroom. Victor was already there, along with 4 other partners, all of them older, all of them watching her with varying degrees of curiosity. Rachel, good. We were just discussing the Singapore expansion. Victor gestured to an empty seat. Your thoughts? Rachel sat, opened her laptop, pulled up her analysis. It's high risk. The regulatory environment is unstable, but the potential ROI justifies the investment if we structure it correctly. One of the partners frowned. Define correctly. 6-month pilot, limited capital exposure, exit strategy built in from day 1. Rachel clicked to the next slide. I've outlined 3 scenarios. Best case, worst case, and most likely. She walked them through it. Data, projections, contingencies. No one interrupted. When she finished, Victor said, questions? Silence. Then the oldest partner, a man named Richard, who'd been with Victor for 20 years, nodded. It's sound. Let's move forward. The meeting continued. Other topics, other decisions. Rachel contributed where relevant, stayed quiet when she had nothing to add. When it ended, Victor caught her in the hallway. Good work in there. Thanks. Richard doesn't nod like that for just anyone. I noticed. Victor smiled. You know what that means? What? You've officially passed the only test that matters. Rachel raised an eyebrow. I thought we agreed no more tests. Not my test. His. Victor gestured back toward the boardroom. Richard doesn't trust people easily, but he trusts you now. How do you know? Because he nodded. Victor started walking. Rachel followed. In 20 years, I've seen him nod like that maybe 5 times. What does it mean? It means he thinks you belong here. Not because I hired you. Not because you impressed him, but because you did the work, and the work spoke for itself. Rachel stopped walking. Victor noticed, turned back. What? My mother used to say that. Do the work. The work speaks for itself. She's right. Victor paused. Most of the time. And the rest of the time? The rest of the time, you need someone like me to make sure people are listening. He smiled. That's what partners do. They reached Rachel's office, small but hers, window overlooking the city, desk she'd chosen herself. Victor leaned against the doorframe. I'm hosting another dinner next month. Rachel groaned. Victor, not a test. I promise. Just dinner. He grinned. Your mother's invited. She'll say yes. I know. She likes me now. She tolerates you. Same thing. Rachel laughed. No, it's not. Victor shrugged. Close enough. He pushed off the door frame, started to leave, stopped. Rachel? Yeah? Thank you. For what? For stopping that day. For coming back. For being exactly who you are. He met her gaze. I wouldn't have built this without you. Before Rachel could respond, he was gone. She stood in her office doorway, looked at the city below, all those people moving through their lives, all those moments where someone chose to stop or keep walking. She thought about the woman on 6th Avenue, Margaret, managing a community center now, making a difference because someone had noticed her, Thought about her mother, who'd taught her that doing the work wasn't enough. You had to do it where people could see, where it mattered. Thought about Victor, who'd spent his whole life testing people because he'd been tested and found wanting by someone, somewhere, long ago. Rachel's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Congratulations on the partnership. You earned it. Margaret Rachel smiled. Typed back, thank you. How's the new job? The response came quickly. Better than sitting on a corner. But sometimes I miss watching people. You'd be surprised what you learn when they think no one's looking. I wouldn't, Rachel typed. I learned from the best. She put her phone away, sat at her desk, opened her laptop, started working on the Singapore proposal. Outside her window, the city moved. People stopped, people walked. People made choices that would ripple through their lives in ways they couldn't predict. And somewhere, someone was watching. Always watching. Rachel had learned to live with that. More than that, she'd learned to watch back. The call came at midnight. Rachel was still at the office, finishing a report that didn't need to be finished until morning, but that she couldn't stop thinking about. Her phone lit up. Victor, she answered. It's midnight. I know. Are you still at the office? Are you? No, I'm at the hospital. Rachel's pulse spiked. What happened? Nothing bad. Well, relatively nothing bad. He sounded tired. My daughter, Caroline, she's in labor, 3 weeks early. I'm here with her. Rachel's grip on the phone loosened. Oh, congratulations? Thanks. But that's not why I'm calling. A pause. I need you to run the board meeting tomorrow. Victor, I know it's short notice, but you know the material. You built half the proposals, and the board trusts you. The board trusts you. The board trusts me because I pick good partners. His voice softened. You can do this, Rachel. What if something goes wrong? Then you'll handle it, the same way you've handled everything else. A sound in the background, machines beeping, voices murmuring. I have to go. Meeting starts at 9. You'll be fine. He hung up. Rachel sat in the dark office, stared at her phone. Then she opened her laptop, pulled up the agenda, reviewed every item, every proposal, every potential question. At 2 a.m. she went home. At 6 a.m. she was back. At 8:45 she stood outside the boardroom. The partners filed in. Richard. 2 others she'd worked with for months. 1 she'd only met twice. They looked at her. She looked back. Victor's at the hospital, she said. His daughter's having a baby. I'll be running the meeting. Richard nodded. Let's begin. Rachel opened her laptop, started the presentation. Halfway through, one of the partners interrupted. This projection seems optimistic. It's based on conservative estimates, Rachel said, but I can walk you through the methodology. She did. Line by line, number by number. The partner nodded. Acceptable. The meeting continued. 2 hours. 12 proposals. 0 mistakes. When it ended, Richard stayed behind. You did well, he said. Thank you. Victor chose correctly. Rachel met his gaze. Chose what? His successor. Richard stood, buttoned his jacket. He'll step back eventually, everyone does. When he does, you'll be ready. He left before Rachel could respond. She sat alone in the boardroom. Thought about a man in a torn coat on a street corner. Thought about a test she hadn't known she was taking. Thought about all the moments since then, the dinners, the contracts, the partnerships, and realized they'd all been leading here, to this. Her phone buzzed. Victor, how'd it go? Rachel, fine. How's Caroline? Victor, exhausted. Happy. The baby's perfect. Rachel, congratulations, Grandpa. Victor, don't call me that. Rachel smiled. Typed, Richard said something interesting after the meeting. Victor, what? Rachel, that you chose your successor. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Victor, I chose a partner. What you do with that is up to you. Rachel stared at the screen. Typed, I'm not ready. Victor, you've been ready since the day you came back. Rachel, why didn't you tell me? Victor, because you needed to figure it out yourself. That's the only test that matters. Rachel put her phone down, looked around the empty boardroom, thought about the woman on 6th Avenue who'd become a community center manager, thought about her mother who'd challenged a billionaire at his own dinner table, thought about herself, junior analyst turned partner turned successor, all because she'd stopped, all because she'd come back, all because she'd refused to play the game the way everyone else did. Rachel stood, walked to the window, looked down at the city below, all those people moving through their days, all those choices, all those tests they didn't know they were taking. Her phone buzzed again. Victor, one more thing. Rachel, what? Victor, the woman you brought to dinner last year. Your mother, she sent flowers. Tell her thank you. Rachel, tell her yourself. Victor, I will. At the next dinner. Rachel, there's another dinner? Victor, there's always another dinner. Rachel laughed, put her phone away, started gathering her things. On her way out, she passed David at security. Big meeting today? He asked. Yeah, but it went well. Mr. Hale must be proud. Rachel paused. He's at the hospital. His daughter just had a baby. David smiled. That's wonderful. Give him my congratulations. I will. Rachel stepped out onto the street. The morning rush had started. People everywhere, moving, stopping, choosing. She thought about calling her mother, decided to visit instead, hailed a cab, gave the driver her mother's address, sat back as the city blurred past. Her phone buzzed one last time. An unknown number. I heard you ran the meeting. Impressive. Margaret Rachel typed back. How did you hear about that? Margaret. Victor told me. We have coffee sometimes. He likes to talk about you. Rachel. What does he say? Margaret. That you remind him why he started testing people in the first place. Rachel. Why's that? Margaret. Because most people fail. But when someone passes, when they really pass, it restores his faith in humanity. Rachel stared at the message. Typed. Did I pass? The response was immediate. You passed the day you came back. Everything since then has just been you passing yourself. Rachel put her phone away, looked out the window, thought about faith, about tests, about the difference between proving yourself to others and proving yourself to yourself. The cab stopped outside her mother's building. Rachel paid, climbed the stairs to the 3rd floor, knocked. Her mother opened the door, looked surprised. It's 10 a.m. on a Tuesday. Why aren't you at work? I ran a board meeting, alone. Richard said I'm going to be Victor's successor. Her mother blinked. Oh, yeah. How do you feel? Rachel thought about it, really thought about it. Terrified, she said, but ready. Her mother pulled her into a hug. Then you are ready. They stood in the doorway for a long moment. Then Carmen said, Come in. I'll make coffee. You can tell me everything. Rachel followed her inside, sat at the kitchen table where she'd sat 1,000 times before, watched her mother move through the familiar routine, kettle on the stove, mugs from the cabinet, the ritual that felt like home. Mom? Yeah? What would you have done if you'd been the one he tested? Carmen set down 2 mugs, poured the coffee, sat across from Rachel. I'd have done exactly what you did, she said. I'd have stopped. I'd have looked. And then I'd have come back. Why? Because that's what decent people do. They see someone in need, and they stop, even if it costs them something, even if they're scared. Carmen reached across the table, squeezed Rachel's hand. That's why you passed. Not because you gave him money, but because you cared enough to come back when you didn't have to. Rachel's eyes burned. I almost didn't, she whispered. But you did. That's what matters. They sat in silence, drinking coffee, watching the morning light fill the kitchen. Eventually, Rachel's phone buzzed. Victor, Caroline wants to meet you. Can you come by the hospital tomorrow? Rachel showed her mother the text. Carmen smiled. Tell him yes. Rachel typed, I'll be there. Victor, bring your mother. Caroline heard stories. Rachel, what kind of stories? Victor, the kind where your mother terrified me at dinner. Rachel laughed, showed Carmen. Carmen's smile widened. I like that man more every day. You just like that he's afraid of you. Same thing. They finished their coffee. Rachel stayed for another hour. Then she hugged her mother goodbye and took the subway back to the office. When she arrived, there was a package on her desk. No return address. Just her name in familiar handwriting. She opened it. Inside, a framed photo. Victor, Margaret, Rachel. Taken at the soup kitchen months ago. She didn't remember anyone taking it, but there it was. The three of them serving food, caught mid-laugh. At the bottom, a note in Victor's handwriting. The best tests are the ones you don't know you're taking. Thank you for passing every single one. Rachel set the frame on her desk, looked at it for a long moment, then she opened her laptop. Started working. Because that's what partners did. They did the work, and the work spoke for itself. What would you have done if you were tested without knowing? Would you have stopped? Would you have come back? Or would you have kept walking, never realizing the opportunity you'd just passed by?